Hello and welcome to Hughes at 10. It is Sunday, the 22nd of August 2021. Can you believe it? And I'm sorry for being away for a week, but, family holiday and all that. So I couldn't be with you, but I'm back now. And I'm going to be back all this week trying to broadcast to you at 10 o'clock. Yes, I am going somewhere this week as well, but I'm going to try and do a show every day, 10 o'clock, 10 p.m. Please join me as we rip through the news and tell people the reality of what's happening with the climate and Brexit and Afghanistan, which I haven't really had a chance to comment on because I went offline last week just before the fall of Kabul. That was good timing, wasn't it? And so many armchair pundits have had their say about what should have happened and what should have been done and how things should have worked. But obviously, everyone's got their own take on it. Some of us who have actually been to Afghanistan might have one opinion about what's happened, whereas someone who has never been to Afghanistan but just read about it in the news and probably knows a lot about epidemiology, even though they've never studied epidemiology, they've got their own opinion on it. I'll let you know my opinion as the show progresses, but first of all, I would like to say a big hello to Pineapple Boy, who says welcome back. Also to Graham Haller, to David, to Diane Bennett over there on Facebook. Hello. We got Tim Ballum saying whoop whoop, where you been? David is saying buenas noches, Galia, good night, everyone. Como facia você, Graham? How are you in Portuguese? Terrible, mate. Absolutely terrible. Et tu tien salude de voce. I missed you, Graham. Oh, that's nice. Thank you. I'm very sorry about my mispronunciation of all the Portuguese words there. Is there a cedilla in Spanish? I think that's Portuguese, isn't it? Kevin says, we missed you last night, Devi. We thought you might be somewhere in Conga line somewhere. Lol, how's things? Nando's closed 45 restaurants in the UK because of Brexit. Yes, indeed. And just a few years ago, people were calling up the emergency services because KFC ran out of chicken. Now it's just all taking it our strides. Young Valve says, evening, Graham. Young Valve, hello. How you doing? So who else have we got here today? Duke Vengeance. Let's just say the week hasn't gone exactly according to plan. Yeah. I mean, what do you think? Last week or this week or next week? What are you talking about, Duke? Let me know. Let me know in the comments. John and Johnny Finger says, happy Brexit, everyone. Yeah, it's all been so much fun. It's not. It's been awful. Anyway, so last weekend, Kabul fell to the Taliban, who were the gang of miscreants that we as in NATO, invaded back in 2001 to rid the country of Afghanistan. We went in because the Taliban had been in charge since the mid-90s and had generally operated under a really incredibly brutal regime in which they beheaded women in the national soccer stadium in Kabul, and they made people's lives an absolute bloody misery. They banned flying kites, as anyone who's read The Kite Runner will be able to tell you. And yes, they were generally horrible people. But the problem, the reason why the West had a beef with them was because they were supporting Al-Qaeda, who were the people responsible for the September 11th attacks. Which, in a way, yes, they were. In another way, so was Saudi. And this isn't whataboutism. Osama bin Laden was Osama bin Laden. Osama bin Laden was a Saudi citizen. He got all of his money through his family's building company, building horrible, tacky palaces in the middle of buttfuck nowhere in the desert, probably. But yeah, he made loads of money, and he was in Sudan, and he was basically sponsored in Sudan to cause trouble there, and then he went over to Afghanistan, and then he went into Pakistan. He was found in Pakistan, not in Afghanistan. Worth remembering that. But America sees Pakistan as a strategic partner, and obviously its head is so far up Saudi Arabia's arse, it can see the future. You know, the one where the oil runs out and Saudi Arabia is left as a backwards shithole with a load of crappily put up concrete monuments to mediocrity in the middle of the desert. Giant concrete, monuments to mediocrity. But that's modern architecture for you, isn't it? Osama bin Laden, what a point to join the stream. Indeed, thank you. They enjoyed the funfair till they burnt it down. So yes, the Taliban are now back after 20 years away. Don't know if there was a big movement to bring back the Taliban, but here they are. And this was all set in motion by the Trump administration, who actually negotiated with the Taliban, not the government of Afghanistan, but the Taliban, in talks that were held in Oman, I think. Was it Oman or was it Bahrain? One of the two. Anyway, last year, and it was Qatar actually, wasn't it? And they negotiated with the Taliban. They didn't negotiate with the local, the actual national government of Afghanistan. And then Biden picked this up and ran with it. And the way that America's pulled out, I believe, has been, and Britain, has been absolutely fucking irresponsible. Because we were there on a mission to stop the Taliban. That was the reason for going over there. There's the Taliban. That was the whole point. So leaving things in a situation to say, oh, well, the Taliban can just sort of, take over. That's fine. We're not going to have a problem with that. Is about as irresponsible as you can get. And now they're making out that, well, why should we fight on behalf of the Afghan people when the Afghans themselves can't be bothered fighting? Well, dear readers, viewers, listeners, did you know that, 26,000 contractors left Afghanistan with the Americans? When the Americans pulled out of Bagram Air Base overnight, they didn't even tell the commanding officer of the Afghan forces that they were leaving. And those 26,000 or so contractors, they were responsible for things like fueling jet planes and helicopters, not jet planes, but helicopters, tanks, booking maintenance, all that kind of stuff, all gone. So the Americans left all this hardware there, no one to operate it, no one to maintain it, and they pulled out. And so, it's been 20 years, and I thought this actually, in an earlier episode. I said, well, if it was going to work at any point over 20 years, it would have worked by now. But actually, thinking about it now from the other side, and I'm glad I don't have to make these kind of decisions, it did work. They had kept the Taliban at bay, although they still operated in rural areas and up bloody mountain areas and in caves. They didn't have control of Kabul. They didn't have control of the national government. They couldn't just kill people in the streets and get away with it. Because America's forces and NATO kept them at bay. Okay? 20 years is a long time. But as someone has pointed out, America is still in South Korea. It's still in South Korea. They still have troops. 10 times as many troops as they had in Afghanistan at the end. They still have that many troops in South Korea. That's for a 70-year-old conflict that dates back to the 1950s. In fact, the Korean conflict, the Korean War, has never ended. There has never been a peace treaty. All there's been is a ceasefire. That's it. So you're looking at the situation now going, so they only had a few thousand troops there. They were making all the difference, really. And now you have pulled the Band-Aid off. And the infections come back. And the thing is this. Whenever you have a failed state, whenever you have a fucked up state where the people in charge are just absolute gobshites, like in the UK, Sudan, Syria, Eritrea, Zimbabwe until Mugabe died, Cambodia in the 70s under Pol Pot, Hitler. Always comes back to Hitler, doesn't it? Whenever you have a terrible, terrible, tyrannical government, it doesn't just affect the people in that country. It always spills across the borders into other nations. Always. This always happens, especially in the modern era. Look at Rwanda. Rwanda had a horrific genocide in 1994. That genocide led to displacement of people. And it led to warlords leaving the country because they were wanted by the authorities, quite rightly. And they moved into Uganda, the Lord's Resistance Army. Remember Joseph Kony? Remember him? He was quite famous a few years ago. Some Americans made a flashy movie saying that we should get him. Yeah, his troop of boy soldiers arose from the Rwandan genocide, as did the fall of Zaire. Zaire doesn't exist anymore. It's now called the Democratic Republic of Congo. Because in about, 1997, forces that were supported by the not refugees, but the people who had left Rwanda because they were wanted war criminals, just simply made their way across Democratic Republic of Congo, taking over mines, taking over oil fields. I don't know oil fields, but taking over any of the resources they could find. And by the time they got to the capital, by the time they got to Kinshasa, they were loaded, and their guns were loaded as well, and they deposed the current president and changed the name of the country to the Democratic Republic of Congo. Because nothing ever stays in the borders. The best example of this is Somalia. Not many people have noticed because we had the credit crunch, and that fucked everything economically around the world in 2008. But around the same time, the Somali pirate situation was getting out of hand. The movie Captain Phillips was set in 2009. That was the time that I was trying to get around the Indian Ocean on a cargo ship. It was impossible because of the Somali pirates. And the extra security on board, the fact that some ships were actually going all the way around Africa instead of going through the Suez Canal because they didn't want to go anywhere near Somalia. The fact that aid ships were getting targeted. Yep, ships full of aid for Somalia were targeted by Somali pirates. They might not have known what was on the ship, but they still kidnapped the crew and held them to ransom. And that was for that was for people from all over the world, taking goods to and from all over the world. Crews from all over the world, from the Philippines, from Russia, from Norway, from the UK, from America. They didn't matter. They didn't care. And so, whenever you have a civil conflict, whenever you have a bad government in charge of a country, it's always inevitably going to spill over the borders. Let's have a look at Afghanistan's borders. Do you want me to pull a map up? In fact, yeah, I think I'll just pull a map up very quickly, if you don't mind, because I just want to I can just tell you, but it's better that I show you. I'm more of a show don't tell kind of guy. Afghanistan. So let's have a look at the neighborhood of Afghanistan, and I'll get back to the comments in a moment. Oh, my map is not appearing. Oh, I know why my map's not appearing, because I haven't set it to Afghanistan. There we go. Okay, happy days. So, oh dear, this isn't good. I think I messed this up. Sorry, just bear with me 1 second while I fix things. I don't want to expand the side panel. Why would I want to do that? Okay. There we go. And then just move that over there. Just give me a sec. Right. Okay. There we go. There's a map of Afghanistan. Helpfully provided by the nice people at Google over there. Now, if we have a look at Afghanistan and the neighborhood it's in, let's have a look at the countries that neighbor Afghanistan. There's Pakistan. Over here is Iran. Up here is Turkmenistan, run by an absolute nutter called Beardy Mahamedov. Here's Uzbekistan, which also borders Afghanistan. You can cross over here to Mazar-e-Sharif in the north of the country. Also, I think it has a border with Tajikistan here. And also, I'm pretty sure that if you come along here, this is disputed, this border here, which is why it's in dotted lines. But if you go along the Wakhan corridor, you can make your way into China. So one of the problems of being a landlocked country is you're kind of damned by geography. If you have good neighbours, in the case of Switzerland, Italy, Austria, Germany, France, Liechtenstein, you're laughing. You're fine. But if you have bad neighbours, like, for instance, Turkmenistan, Iran, Tajikistan, Pakistan, and China, you're pretty much fucked. And all those countries are now going to be taking refugees. And that's going to cause disruption in those countries. And they're going to try and get those refugees out of the countries as soon as they possibly can. Where are they going to go? I was talking about this when I was talking about climate change in Bangladesh. Where are they going to go? They're going to Europe. We're going to get 1 million Afghan refugees knocking on Europe's door. Greece has already put up a fucking fence, put up a wall to stop the refugees from coming in. We didn't need to create these refugees. We have created them. And now, because people are racist and stupid, they will vote for the right-wing parties who have done this in order to stop the refugees coming in. The people who vote right wing are fucking idiots. The people who are in charge, they're scum, but they're not stupid. They know exactly what they're doing, and they're doing it now. Right, so let's have a look at what we've got here. We've got Pineapple Boy saying poor failed state, and he's put the flag up of Afghanistan, Rwanda, Yemen. That looks to me like it might be Sudan, but I might be wrong. It might be Panama. It might be Palestine. Somalia and Great Britain. Okay, yeah, fair enough. Can't argue with that. The 3 months was perfect, but I'm the only 6-month contract to help out. David, you're back. Hi, mate. David, sorry, not David. I was mixing you up with David from Spain, so I've made a Welsh-Spanish hybrid called David. Hello, David. David, thank you for coming back. We haven't seen you for ages, and you're back. Thank you for the microphone, mate. Really appreciate it. Grand. I am grand since I came out of retirement, which only lasted 3 months. Jesus. Good retirement then. Osama bin Laden, US author Jim Wright was asking, should he feel bad that right-wing anti-vaxxers are dying of COVID? Yeah, Kramer. So I was just actually reading, funny you should mention that. I was just reading about an American disc jockey, a conservative talk show host. Her name Valentine or something? Yeah, Phil Valentine, a Nashville-based conservative radio show talk show host who had questioned whether it was necessary for all people to get COVID-19 vaccinations, has died. Yesterday, his employer, WWTM Radio, announced on Twitter, Valentine was just 61 years old. Please keep the Valentine family in your thoughts and prayers. His brother or his sister or someone in his family said he recognises now that him not getting the vaccination has probably caused a bunch of other people not to get vaccinated, he said in the interview. It was his sister, sorry. And that he regrets. That was an interview that was done a few days ago. It was last month, actually. So there you go. Should we feel bad about people who refuse the vaccine dying of COVID? Yes and no. If they are someone who's really stupid and easily led, and people have made fools of them and got them not to do this thing that can save their fucking life, then yeah, compassion. Honestly, genuine compassion for the divvies out there who haven't got the mental capabilities to put one and one together and go, maybe my doctor knows more about medicine than some twat on the radio. Just saying. Okay. Now, if some twat on the radio gets COVID and fucking dies because they're not vaccinated and they've told other people not to get vaccinated, then fuck them. Burn in hell. Don't give a shit. These people are fucking murderers. 100 people are dying every fucking day in this fucking country because of anti-vaxxers. Okay? Those motherfuckers have got so much blood on their hands, it's fucking painful. And I'll add to that, not just the people who have a talk show, people on the radio in this country, also people who write about it on Facebook and Twitter and get their mates on Facebook and Twitter to go along with it. And say, you believe in the pandemic? Yeah, it's all a COVID conspiracy. Yes, all the doctors in the world are wrong. And you, my friend, are right. Even though you know nothing about medicine. That's incredible. I mean, I've got quite an ego for, a ginge. But bloody hell. I don't fucking knee, that's not my name, elbow. I don't elbow the captain of the plane that I'm traveling on out the way so I can take over the controls. It's not my style. I know how to fly better than you. Stop the brain surgery. Stop it. I can do it better. I watched a video on YouTube. I Googled it. Spent 5 minutes Googling it. I read something on the internet, on Facebook. Yes. Saw a good video where someone had done one of these videos where you talk to yourself and you play two different characters, and he played a Republican and a Democrat, and the Democrat was saying, well, basically your shots are actually millions of shots, like gunshots inside you, and the Republican's like, oh, what? what, guns? He's like, yeah, it's basically giving all your inside immune system. It's giving them guns to fight COVID. You've got to have 2 jabs though, because the first jab, that builds a wall of defense. It builds a wall against these evil immigrants coming into your body and trying to steal your job and kill you. He's like, oh really? Is that the second jab is giving them all little mini AR-15 so you can shoot them all dead? He's like, what? 15? Oh my God. But obviously we don't think that everyone should have a gun, because that would be a bit anarchy sort of thing. So I know it's not very politically correct to say this, but we're only going to give the guns to the white blood cells. And the Republicans like, I'm sold. It's like 100% vaccination rate achieved in days. I thought it was quite clever. I had a student from Congo at that time, one of the nicest people I've ever met, I've ever known. Yeah, sugar-free. I mean, the people I met in Africa, honestly, apart from a couple of police officers who were twats, the rest of them were just the rest of the people I met were just so lovely. They always have time for you. And people would share their food with me. They didn't have much. They just share the food with me. I remember being in Eritrea and just being invited to someone's house for breakfast. It was just... do you want to come? And they had one of those sort of spherical kettles, with the pipe coming out of it, whatever it's called. What's the word for it? Spout. Spout. So it's one of these spherical clay things, and they put it over the fire and they heat it, and that heats up the coffee inside, and it's proper amazing Eritrean coffee. And don't forget, coffee originally comes from Ethiopia, which Eritrea used to be part of until 1991, I think. But yeah, so lovely people. Infowars host Owen Schroer has been charged with the January the 6th riots. Get in! That is really good news, finally. After so many awesome people dying for no reason last week. I mean, Sean Locke. Guys, what the hell? Can't someone I don't like die? I mean, it's all well and good, these conservative radio show hosts killing themselves because they don't want to get a jab. Killing themselves through stupidity and a heady mix of stupidity and arrogance. That's one thing, but I don't know these people. Yeah, why can't someone we don't like cark it? Just think about the pleasure, the happiness that would spread through the population if a select few people, or one of these select few people, the ones I mean, just fucking died. The kind of person you see that they're dead, and your first sort of instinct is not to go, oh, that's sad. It's to go, yes, one less wanker. Okay, I'm not supposed to say this on YouTube, am I? Sorry, Google Daddy. It is odd that Arsenal has Visit Rwanda on their soccer shirts. Have they? That's kind of weird. Okay, but it's a beautiful country. I mean, if anyone wants to plan a trip to Rwanda and needs a tour guide, someone who spent a day there once, or 2 days. Pineapple Boy says Pakistan and Afghanistan both have a strong Pashtun community. They have been intertwined since the borders were artificially drawn. Yeah, Pineapple Boy. I mean, and like I say, I said before, I talked about this when I talked about Afghanistan as part of Hughes the World, on my very first episode, that it's an artificial country. The borders of Afghanistan were just invented by other nations as a buffer zone between China and Iran, and between South Asia, which was the British Empire, and North Asia, which was Russia, the Russian Empire. Darwinism at work right there, indeed. Meanwhile in the UK, MPs, how dare you escape from a war zone to save yourself being murdered, indeed. The Colin says there was an evangelical preacher in one of the southern US states that God would banish COVID. He died of COVID 3 weeks later. Well, God seems to have banished him. That's like the joke about the guy who wants to win the lottery and he prays to God and God says, okay, he's going to kill himself. He says, oh, I'll let you win the lottery. He's like, okay, and he waits, numbers come up next week. No, numbers don't come up. Another week, looks, numbers don't come up. Third week, numbers don't come up. Right, fuck it, he kills himself. And then, he's at the pearly gates and God's there, or the angel or whatever said he could win the lottery. And he's like, well, why need I mean? He said, it would help if you bought a ticket, dickhead. Yeah. It would help if you undergone a very painless procedure, a free procedure. It doesn't cost anything to build up your own bodily defenses against the world's most deadly pandemic of over a century. It's killed over 4 million fucking people. It's killing over 100 people still in the UK every day. Oh God, if I bring this up and say, oh, well, what about New Zealand? Only 26 people have died. And people go, oh, well, you can't trust how they count the dead. I mean, what the fuck? Do you really think all these people in, like, I don't know, Vietnam, where they have had over 1,000 deaths now because they had a big surge last month. Do you really think that for 12 months, people all over Vietnam were dying at the rate that they were dying in the UK? So that would mean over 200,000 dead because they have a population a third bigger than ours. Could you imagine keeping all those people quiet? All those fucking people, right? They have fucking smartphones, mate. They have, like, family. They know people. Right? They're gonna go, oh, you know me mate Thomas, right? He died with a bloody ventilator down his throat, and we think it might be this disease that's killing people around the world. But we're all going to be in on it, all right? Because the government, the not particularly rich government of Vietnam, has given us fucking shush money so that nobody writes on Facebook, which is available in Vietnam, you know. My family member died of COVID, and it wasn't put down on the death certificate that it was COVID. It was put that it was a motorcycle accident. He doesn't even have a motorcycle. He might have been hit by a motorcycle, I guess. I mean, it is Vietnam, but you see what I mean. Fuck me. That's not making excuses. Oh, but that it's an island nation. It's an island nation, New Zealand, Graham. Oh, yeah. So's Japan. They have not had any kind of the same sort of death rate as we have in the UK. Singapore is an island as well. It's an island with a causeway. It's actually attached to Malaysia. They haven't had a COVID death rate the size of ours. It's quite remarkable how shit we are and how desperate people are in this country. Even people, moderate people in the centre, even people on the left saying, oh, you can't trust those statistics coming out of Vietnam. And I'm just like, oh, for fuck's sake. Yeah, right. On the balance of probabilities, who do you think is going to be lying about this shit? The Tory government that we've got, or the Vietnamese government who they can't win either way? Do you think when there's an earthquake somewhere in Pakistan, they lie about the numbers? Oh, we'll lie about the numbers, and then good things will happen, and people will go to Pakistan on holiday. Oh, fuck off. They'll say X many people died because that's how many fucking people died. In fact, it's in their interest not to cook the books on this one, because if more people die, they'll get more fucking aid money. If anything, these third world countries or developing nations should be inflating the figures, but they're not. If they were that corrupt and did just want money or whatever nefarious reason, no one can give me a good reason for it. Why lie? Why would Vietnam lie? Why would Thailand lie? Why would they? Because they don't want to look bad. Oh, fuck. Yeah. Don't want to lose face. Colin says, blah, blah, blah. I read that one. It was the magical red hair, Graham. I thought that they maybe thought you were a wizard. Maybe. Everyone who came to the UK from Uganda turned into a Brexiteer. Everyone I know that came from the... Really? Oh, my God, that's sad. Lee Corn, I'm fashionably late as usual. I'm always late. I'm always about 10 minutes late on these things, but, At Baldrick 3, it's really dropped off, mate. Is that the quality of these shows? I'm very sorry. I'm trying my best. If you want to throw in some super chats, that'll perk me up a little bit, I think. Kevin says, Sean Locke was in a class of his own. I haven't heard any tributes played from him from Jimmy Carr or Richardson. Interesting. Maybe they didn't get on. And yet, there are still morons who think the whole thing is a hoax. Indeed. I love you, Graham. Well said. My lovely European hero. Thank you very much, David. I don't know which part you were saying. Thank you there. New Zealand have Gandalf, though. Well, Jeremy, that's where you're wrong, because Gandalf has actually left New Zealand and has moved over to the UK. They're filming the second season of the Lord of the Rings series, the as yet untitled Lord of the Rings series. They're filming it in the UK. They've left New Zealand, which I think is a bit shit to New Zealand, but, Stickboy NZ says, talking to New Zealand, hi. We're back in full lockdown now for the first time in a year. Total cases in country 72. Total cases before we were triggered down 1. We triggered lockdown 1. Yeah. Stickboy NZ, NZ, sorry. God, we're not American here. Someone's talking to me about American democracy this evening, and I said, that would be a fine thing. When's it getting here? John Barleycorn says, the more people who know about a conspiracy, the more likely it'll be exposed. They couldn't keep Station X secret despite official secrets. So what chance could they conceal COVID deaths? Yes, John, this is the ultimate argument against any kind of conspiracy theory. It's how do you keep people silent? The Republican government under Nixon couldn't steal some papers from a fucking hotel room without getting found out. And that was like the simplest conspiracy you could possibly imagine. It was breaking into a hotel room, stealing some papers that told them what the Democrats were planning to do in their campaign, and reading them, taking them, whatever. You see, because for people to be involved in conspiracy, they've got to have they've got to be of low moral fibre, to make a little Monkey Island reference there, thank you. And these people of low moral fibre, very unlikely to be given enough money to keep their gob shut, especially for 20 fucking years, like it's been 20 years since September the 11th. 20 years, guys. That's a long time to be paying people billions of dollars every day into their bank accounts to keep them quiet. I mean, you could try killing them all, but with conspiracy that size, you would need thousands and thousands of people involved in keeping the conspiracy going and keeping it alive. And I find it really fucking disrespectful to the people who were killed on September the 11th, or even Princess fucking Diana, you know, to say that she was assassinated. It's so daft, because it's like, why? Just because Princess Diana was famous doesn't mean she can't fucking die. Just because Elvis was famous doesn't mean he faked his own death. Famous people die all the freaking time. Do you not remember 2016? That's like every single fucking day in 2016, somebody famous died. It was insane. It was like, oh my God, famous people stop dying, please? And can they just wrap David Attenborough up in cotton wool? Please. But also, conspiracies, they have this really dark fucking side to them. It's really dark. Because, don't forget, the pogroms in Russia were triggered by a bullshit book called The Protocols of the Elders of Zion that some twat made up about how the Jews planned to take over the world. And because of that, thousands of Jews were beaten up, killed, and expelled from Russia, and had to leave and go and make new lives somewhere else. The conspiracies that the Nazis like to spin was that there was the stab in the back conspiracy in World War One, that the Germans would have won, but they were stabbed in the back. Who was responsible for that? The Jews, of course. All these conspiracy theories, they nearly always end in, oh, the Jews did it. Even September the 11th. I mean, for fuck's sake, if you want a classic example of the over anti-Semitism on the left, it's getting those. Remember, you used to get chain emails. Do you remember this? Where the emails used to go to each other, where it'd be like, and it would have your fucking address on it, and then it'll get sent on to all these different people, and you're like, why are you sending people my email address? I'm going to get spammed to hell. And this is in the days when you used to get pop-ups. Do you remember pop-ups? And you'd pop them, and they just keep coming up on your screen. You're like trying to stop these pop. Do you remember those days? Yeah. Nightmare. And getting these chain emails saying, oh, well, you know, the Jewish owner of the Twin Towers had just renewed the insurance. Well, obviously they were in on it, you know. Well, the thing they owned got blown up by terrorists. I think it's just because it's a big thing that happened and people find it hard to get their head around it. I mean, I'm sure maybe at the time of Titanic. I mean, if Titanic sank now, people would be like, oh, I'm sure it was attacked by eco-terrorists and they drilled holes to stop these big ships. Because could just hit an iceberg. Occam's razor. But yeah, conspiracy theories in Nigeria caused people to not get polio vaccination. So children died of polio. Children, I mean, like, or were left crippled by polio. And traveling through West Africa, I saw some people who had obviously had polio as a child who were just... It's fucking awful and fucking preventable. Absolutely preventable. Didn't need to happen. We had a vaccine against it. But, you know, conspiracies. Baldrick the Third. Thank you, Baldrick. Talking to Jeremy Goff about drop off mask wearing in shops. Not the show, still good as always. Thank you very much, Baldrick the Third. Okay, I came in a bit late there to a conversation, but I really, really appreciate the super chat. Thank you very much. If anyone else wants to drop a super chat in, you're very welcome to do so. I'm only going to be going until just after 11 o'clock tonight. I'm not going to make a late one because I was on the Discord server with Jeremy and the others last night till, what was it, 1:30? Jesus. Catherine's like, what time did you get to bed last night, Graham? So I was in trouble. Anyway, back to conspiracy theories. In the early noughties, I hate that term, but that's what they're called, the 2000s, in South Africa, conspiracy theories ran riot about, so the one about polio in Nigeria was that they were putting AIDS, they were putting HIV in the vaccines. That's what the rumor was going around Nigeria at the time. And then around the same time in South Africa, there was this conspiracy theory that AIDS wasn't real. AIDS wasn't real. And this was supported by some really weird characters like the Foo Fighters. Yeah, Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters had an AIDS denier on stage, a woman who denied that AIDS existed. And there was a guy called Matthias Rath who probably still is, a vitamin entrepreneur. Now, I know some of you probably take vitamins. If you're told to take vitamins by your doctor, great. If you're not told by your doctor that you need vitamins because you're deficient in a particular vitamin and you eat a healthy, balanced diet, you don't need the vitamins. You just shit them out. Your body can't absorb more than the amount that it needs of any given vitamin. You shit it out, okay? That's just the way vitamins work, all right? But a lot of people, shysters, have made a lot of money through selling vitamins because obviously they're sold these magic pills that will cure you without killing you because you can't really overdose on vitamins, I don't think, because like I say, you just shit them out. Over in New Zealand, over in South Africa, this guy, Matthias Rath, went around touting his pills and saying they were a cure for AIDS. A cure for AIDS. To desperate, impoverished people who were dying of AIDS. And you got to know the scale of this. Millions of people in Africa, in South Africa, had AIDS. Millions still do. Nelson Mandela's own son died of AIDS. In the country of Lesotho, which is completely surrounded by South Africa, 1 in 3 adults are HIV positive. The last thing we need is a fucking conspiracy theory saying, oh, it's just pneumonia, mate. It's just pneumonia. You know, it's just... Why? Because then people don't take their antiretroviral drugs and they fucking die. And this is the thing. Conspiracy theories either end in it was the Jews or they end in death. Like World War I ended in fucking death. Lots and lots of deaths. So before going nuts deep in your latest favourite fucking bullshit conspiracy theory, just have a think, where's this going? Is this going to help? Is it going to make the world a better place? Is it? Or is it just going to spread more tyranny, more suffering, more death, more anti-Semitism? Just have a think. I know most of you are probably on my side on this, but I'm sure there's a few watching thinking, Graham, you're barking up the wrong tree on this one. Conspiracies are real. The New World Order, the Illuminati. They do it in plain sight, mate. They don't need to do a fucking conspiracy. They just don't need to. You know, they say, yeah, this is what we're doing. They write a book about it afterwards. They don't give a shit. They're not going to get done for it. Conspiracy in this school. Conspiracy in this country. Private schools. This is a massive conspiracy. Private schools are set up to make money for various, wealthy individuals. They apparently don't have to pay tax because they don't have to pay tax because apparently they're charities, although 99% of the money that they spend in charity goes to rich fuckers who can already afford sporting equipment and musical instruments. Only 1% goes to the most needy people in society. 1% of that money. 1% of that £1 billion goes to actual kids in poverty who would never have a chance at going to private school under normal circumstances. It's what we call lip service, eh? You know, where they say something, oh, it's a charity. It's not a charity, it's a cunt farm. That's what it is. And people go, oh, but not everyone who goes to private school is a bad person. I don't know that. I have friends who went to private school. James O'Brien went to private school. He's all right. A few other people who I quite like. I mean, David Mitchell, he's all right. He went to private school. Stephen Fry, he's okay. Sandy Tofty, she's okay. But if your child is an entitled little shit and they go to a private school, they're not going to come out less of an entitled little shit now, are they? Are they? No. Okay, right, moving on. The idea that Twin Towers fell because of a controlled explosion is dumb. Where do you find enough people who are willing to wire two clearly active office buildings for demolition without anyone knowing? Well, exactly. And then they go, oh, but the reason is that jet fuel can't melt steel. And it's like, it doesn't need to melt it, just needs to fatigue it, mate. Just like, why don't we ask a blacksmith about this one? I heard that Bozo was replaced by a Russian double. That's why Brexit is going so poorly. That's what I heard, actually. I've heard that one as well, Pineapple Boy. Apparently, he was bumped off at one of these bunga parties that he went to in Italy, in the Italian Alps, with his mate, you know, Lebedev, whatever his name is, the Lord Siberia, the son of a KGB agent. And that would explain a few things, because this new person who's pretending to be Boris, he only knows like 4 lines in English. Have you noticed that? He just keeps saying vaccines all over again, as if English isn't his first language. And he's just been brought up for many years to just impersonate Boris Johnson quite effectively, it seems. And the other thing that someone mentioned was the fact that in 2013, apparently the real Boris Johnson, who's now dead because the Russians killed him and replaced him with a double, he had a vasectomy. Now, look, I don't know, it might have been reversible or whatever, but apparently he had a vasectomy in 2013 because his wife found out about his 3rd love child that he had outside his marriage to his wife, who he had 4 kids with, and he had 3 children with other women while he was with her. And then a couple of years later, he was banging the American woman who took £128,000 of my taxpayers' money for IT lessons. Bullshit. And so if I'm a bit dismissive of her and make some kind of comments about her, that I don't want to be sexist about it, so I'll just call her a fucking arsehole, okay? She's a bitch. See, that's sexist. Bastard. She's a bastard. She's an absolute cock, that woman. She fleeced the British taxpayer through Boris Johnson's nether regions. Nice. But anyway, so if he had a vasectomy in 2013, he couldn't have just had a kid. And apparently, Lady Penelope, what's her name? Carrie Antoinette, she's up the duff again. So, yeah. Interesting. Graham, GB News published Poland want to leave the EU. I think they are using fake news. I mean, there might be more people than before that want to leave the EU in Poland, but only because only like 1% wanted to leave before, and now 2% want to leave. So they go, oh my God, the number's doubled! Only water-soluble vitamins are secreted. Fat-soluble vitamins are not, and too much of them can get you serious trouble and even kill you. Well, thank you, Conservator. Well, even more reasons not to waste your money on expensive vitamins, because they might actually fucking kill you. Then again, if you drink too much water, it'll fucking kill you. Because everything in moderation, people. Everything in moderation. It's all to do with dosages. I hope you realise my comic was a classic troll. That's from Tim. Here we go. Tim, you have to feel sorry for the Secret Service agents that were planting the explosives in the Twin Towers when the terrorists crashed their plans into the towers, killing them all. Indeed. Well, what about the people planning Princess Diana's assassination, who then had to be like, oh, she's just crashed into a wall at 70 miles an hour without wearing a safety belt? Who could have predicted that? If you refuse your vaccination, then you should be eliminated from hospital treatment from it. Simple as one chance after that, and you're on your own. The problem is, Kevin, you've got a good point. It would be great to just say, well, fuck off then. I mean, I'm sorry, but you were offered the vaccine, you refused it. You can't have hospital treatment. But doctors take the Hippocratic Oath to do no harm, so they can't do that. We could. We could block the hospitals. But that would be a bit grim, wouldn't it? These people are dying of their own stupidity. But as a knock-on effect, their deaths are causing more deaths because routine operations and operations for people suffering from cancer and other chronic illnesses that will kill them eventually, if left untreated, keep on getting pushed back. So you've got people who are responsible citizens, who are nice people, who have got their vaccinations and don't mean any harm to anyone, and they're waiting for their operation, and it keeps getting kicked back because these selfish motherfucking arsehole cunts who won't get their fucking vaccination because they're fucking children. I mean, I don't mean they're paedophiles. I mean they are just children. Like they haven't developed mentally from childhood in that way. They might have good qualifications. They might have a degree even. It's unlikely, but they might. A good degree. But there's definitely arrested development that's gone on there, especially in terms of emotional intelligence, empathy, and being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes, which a certain segment of the population, Brexiteers mostly, find very, very difficult to do. They can't put themselves into the shoes of a woman in Afghanistan pleading with soldiers to take her baby till their baby will be safe. They can't put themselves in the shoes of a Jewish child being put on a train to come to the UK in the 1930s, being separated from their parents. Didn't we do a good thing, bringing all those children over here? No, we did a half good thing. We also did a terrible thing, which was to separate them from their parents because we didn't want any more refugees. So we just took the children. We separated children from their parents and left their parents to be fucking murdered. Aren't we great? Let's have a coin commemorating the kinder transport. Wasn't that nice of us? No, it wasn't fucking nice, mate. It wasn't nice at all. It was half nice. And yet, here we are, 70 years later, 80 years later. Fuck me, Jesus Christ, time flies. And people are still falling for the same propaganda, the same bullshit, the same conspiracy theories, the same let's blame the Jews for everything. And it's not just people on the right. People on the left do it all the fucking time as well. It does seem like the Jews are the last bastion of prejudice, acceptable prejudice to have. And I know some very left-wing people put a drink inside them, start going off on one about how Jews run the world, which they don't. The rich run the world, and there might be some more Jewish people in the entertainment and the arts, but realistically, Boris Johnson's not Jewish, boys and girls. He's definitely not Jewish. He's a cunt. He's a lot of things, but he's not Jewish. And neither is President Biden, and neither is Emmanuel Macron, and neither is what's her name, Merkel. Neither is Bolsonaro or Duterte or the leaders of the Taliban or Al-Assad or al-Bashir or, I mean, let's go on. But yeah, I think the leaders of Israel are Jewish, and they tend to come in for more criticism than any other leaders in the world, which at the same time as it being fair enough that the Israeli government does do terrible things and we should call them out on that, it does seem to be disproportionate assault on the actions of the Israeli government, which always gets conflated with Israel just as a thing that exists. And a thing that a lot of people, I feel, think unfairly exists because they don't really know history. A lot of the countries that exist at the moment exist unfairly. They exist because someone came from somewhere else and fucking killed all the people who lived there originally. We did it. We did it in Canada. We did it in Australia. We did it in America. We did it in the Caribbean. There were no Caribs. You never meet a Carib because they all got fucking killed by the British. Well, and the Portuguese and the French and the Dutch and the Spanish. Well, they did get killed. I got another super chat. Did I get a super chat? Thomas Page. Welcome to Brexit Britain. Park your empathy at the door. Indeed. So we're coming up to the 11 o'clock hour. I'm going to give you tomorrow's papers today. I'm going to try and read through some of more of your comments. I'm sorry that I haven't got through too many of them today. I've been away for a week, so there's been a lot to get through. I haven't really talked about Afghanistan as much as I would like to. I'll bring it up again tomorrow, I'm sure. More than 20,000 people at the moment are in and around Kabul airport, desperate to try and get on flights and get the hell out of Afghanistan. People are being killed in the crushers. And there's news that not only is the Colorado River drying up, so that gives the water supply to 40 million Americans, Parts of the Middle East are also running out of water. One of the biggest lakes in the Middle East, in Iran, is actually just running out of water because of climate change. There's a massive storm that is currently belting itself into the state of New York. And these things are going to be constant now. Every fucking day of the next 10 years, we're going to have extreme weather. It's going to be on the news. In the summer, it's going to be forest fires in the northern hemisphere. In the winter, it's going to be forest fires in the southern hemisphere because it's summer over there when it's winter here. Thomas Page, thank you very much for the super chat. If anyone else wants to throw in a chat before I go, but I am going to give you tomorrow's papers today, just in a moment, after I read a few more comments. I saw the preparedness notes from the EU getting ready leaving, and there was no reaction, government whatsoever. Now there are no drivers to bring food or people to pick the fruit. EU warned the UK before. Yeah. I mean, that's why I've got a stockpile. We've got enough food for about 3 months. There's no food in the supermarket whatsoever. We're just going to have to put up with it. You're going to have to put up with the fact that when you go to the supermarket forevermore, until we rejoin the EU, you're going to go and there's going to be stuff that you want isn't going to be available. And you know what? We've had it great. We've had it too good. We've grown fat and lazy and stupid in the good times. We don't know what the rest of the world's like because we haven't experienced it. We've lived in the EU. We thought that it was just normal that you could cross borders and work in another country without having to ask some motherfucker for permission. We just didn't have to do that because we were part of the EU. We were the EU, for God's sake. We're not part of the EU anymore. So, we're an outsider. We're a third country, a third nation, third world nation very soon, I'm sure. Draconic says, no one ever talks about the Romulan invasion that started with the cloaked ships flying into the Twin Towers now Tal Shiar agent Bruce Jensen in Downing Street. Well, yeah, Draconic, that's very true. But also, no one seems to point out to the stupid fucking the Romulans with their very clever cloaked ships that they could just literally paint their ships matte black and you wouldn't be able to see them in space. You could just paint them black. That's how you do it, and you can have blackened windows. Like in a car, there's like blackened window. You could have that on your spaceship, right? You can have lights on inside, so you can see out. That's fine, but no one can see in because you have a black dot on the. See, the thing about black holes is they're black, and the thing about space is they're black. So how are you supposed to see them? Exactly the same point. Just paint your spaceship black. You don't need to have expensive cloaking technology. That's a gift to the Federation there. If anyone's watching from the future, Federation of Starfleet, please just, do what the Romulans do. Paint your ships black. Anyway, right. Jeremy Goff. People also judge others by their own standards. All of us. Yeah, I think so. And also, the Dunning-Kruger effect does go both ways, doesn't it? So I have a tendency to think that people know more than they actually do. And it's that fine balancing act to say, to think, okay, well, I better explain this. I better explain this thing that I think is really simple. And then you make the mistake of explaining it to someone who knows what you're talking about, and then you come across as a mansplaining, patronizing bastard. So yes, it's a knife edge to walk that. But I do have a tendency to assume that people know more than they do, because I know quite a lot about stuff, and so I just assume that other people know that, but they don't, by and large. And I have to sort of gauge what people know when I'm talking to them and modify my conversation accordingly. And that's quite difficult. Also, I have to bullshit a lot. I'm not a very good bullshitter, but when I was traveling around the world, everyone wants to talk to me about football, so I had to brush up on my football. I don't really care about football that much. I mean, I'm an Evertonian. Our trophy cabinet is so dusty, it gives people asthma just by walking past it. So I don't really take that much of an active interest in what's happening in the footy, because we're always going to finish mid-season till the rest of my life, I think. The way the Premier League's set up. That's why I was so excited about the Super League. I was like, go on, fuck off. Everton might win the league now. Bye. But yeah, wasn't to be. Patrick McCarthy, £5. Woo! Enjoying these news rounds. Yee! Thank you, mate. Really appreciate it. 19 days to go to Ginger. Drug dealing Romulans. But you would not bend the light to stop you obscuring the stars. Yeah, but I mean, if you're actually out in space, it's not that starry, is it? I mean, it's not that starry. Surely if you, I mean, it's not. But it's just like the stars twinkling. I mean, unless you were right up close to something. You don't have to be that close. Just look on your phasers and shoot. But we survived the Blitz, said Brexiteers who weren't born. Yes, many people didn't survive the Blitz, but there you go. Year 2091, super tornado destroys London. Climate change denialist stage protest. It's funny because that might happen. Bayberg says, cloaking worked by masking the energy signature. One more jab at the greater space odyssey and I'm releasing my inner Trekkie out. Woo! Okay. Yes. It's still working. You just painted them black. Just paint them black. In fact, you know the stealth bomber, it evades radar because of the paint job on it. It has a very expensive paint job. And the paint on the stealth bomber actually scatters radio waves, so when the radio wave hits it, it doesn't bounce back nicely to the listening station, so they can find out where it is. So it just scatters it. Get some of that paint. Okay, so I am going to do the newspapers. The Daily Star is the first one here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to reload it because the Times, that's better. Okay, so I will share my screen with you from the other screen. There we go. Just give me a moment to just get it in the right place because Marcus was talking to us yesterday, and as a result, I'm going to take off the Ginger Island and I'll leave the Hughes at 10 on. Okay, so let's move this across. I'll get rid of the news rip thing because we don't really need that there because it's sort of obscuring what I'm talking about. Which is a dreadful thing to do. There you go. There's your messages disappearing off into the ether. Okay, so we've got this headline here from the Times: the mass airlift to evacuate 6,000 from Kabul crisis. And then fraud claims at charity backed by the Blurs. And this picture of a U.S. Marine calms an infant at Kabul airport. Pressure is growing on President Biden to extend his deadline for withdrawal. Let's see what he does with that. Biden's been a bit shit recently. I might go off on one about that next time. Mirror is saying we fear Angel of Death could be freed within weeks. Victim's terror as murdering nurse nears end of minimum jail term. The parents of a woman left brain damaged by nurse Beverly Allett fear the killer may be soon freed on parole. Her 30-year minimum sentence ends in weeks. So this idea that she could be put on parole and get out again after 30 years in jail. Don't forget, it's half the time. So I guess she was sentenced, 60 years in jail? So we'll see. Beverly, bye-bye Don, one of the Everly brothers, not the Beverly, the Everly brothers has died at the age of 84. I saw them live. They were supporting Simon and Garfunkel. That's how old I am. Okay, we've got the Daily Express here, scumbag newspaper. Time running out for trapped Britons. Boris pressures US to extend evacuation deadline as Kabul death toll hits 20. Lots of people being killed in the scramble to escape the Taliban. The Daily Tory Graph, scumbag newspaper, says Johnson in bid to push Biden on Afghan withdrawal. This is so that if the reason why they're saying this, just let me appear to you again, so I can just ferment my wisdom amongst you all. The reason why the newspapers, the Tory-owned press, are saying this about their favourite fucking Tory is so when Biden does inevitably change his mind about the withdrawal time frame for the US troops, he can say, oh, that was me, I did that, which is the equivalent of shooting a barn door with a gun and then drawing a circle around the bullet hole and saying you've hit the fucking target. Anyway, scumbags to a man. Right, let's fade back in here. An unholy alliance, screams the Daily Heil. Standing just feet apart, gun-toting Taliban and British soldiers try and quell Kabul at airport chaos. So the Taliban fighters and British troops, enemies at the gate. Taliban fighters and British troops at the Kabul airport yesterday. Don't cut and run yet, Joe. Oh, I think they're trying to butter him up. Arid fears there may be only 2 days left to get refugees out of Afghanistan. PM plead with Byron. BM to plead with Biden. So this is part of the same bullshit Tory. They sit together and say, how can we get ourselves out of this without looking like a complete shower of incompetent shite? And they say, oh, we'll put pressure on Biden to do something he's probably going to do anyway. Yeah. Clever, eh? Smart. That's where the smart money is. So, and obviously the Express and the Mail and the Tory Graph go along with this bullshit because the people who write for those newspapers are scumbags. And the people who read them are scumbags as well. Okay, so back into the shit news here. The Guardian is saying number 10 plea to Biden after Taliban show of strength. Okay, yeah, even the Guardian's got onto this press release with number 10. Labour sets out plan for benefits overhaul. They pledge a major overhaul of the universal credit system today, by allowing low-income workers to earn more without having welfare payments cut in a move potentially costing billions of pounds annually. Oh, how exciting. The Daily Star, 12-day heat wave starts now. We're going to have a 700-mile wide hot air blob, which is going to save the summer. An excuse to put some sisters, by the looks of things, on the front page of the newspapers in bikinis. And then we've got the Metro here about Perry from Little Mix, who is now going to be they're just giving birth or something, or they're going to be parents or something. And then Para on Kabul frontline. I was just doing my duty. Corporal picture with baby at airport says image sums up what's happening every day. There's a paratrooper holding a baby passed over the wire. And then there's people being held up in the powers lift a boy up. Oh, God, it's awful, isn't it? Rift grows with US over Afghan withdrawal. This is in the Eye. Newspaper. I say newspaper. I don't think this actually comes out as a paper anymore. Oh, actually, you can't see what I'm talking about because I haven't I haven't put the screen back up. All right, sorry. I was just doing my duty. This is from the Metro, and it's got this paratrooper with a baby. And over here, rift grows with US over Afghan withdrawal. Former National Security Advisor echoed Tony Blair's swiper imbecilic US exit strategy, which I can't really argue with. Right. And then the Independent leads with woman gives birth on evacuation flight, and Afghan asylum seekers in UK trapped in limbo. This is as thousands of Afghan asylum seekers who have already reached the UK are stuck in a nightmarish limbo amid calls to give them the right to stay in Britain permanently. And don't forget the UK. They've got 2 days to get these refugees out, and the UK says they're going to take a few thousand refugees over the course of 5 years. They don't need like asylum in 5 years' time, mate. They need asylum fucking now. They need it now. All right, so just let them in. Just get as many people out of the country, especially the people who've worked with British troops, who've worked as translators, who've served alongside the British troops. Get them and get their families the fuck out of there. We have offered this to literally everyone who lives in fucking Hong Kong. We can afford it. We're the 6th richest country in the world. It's going to be the 7th soon, but we're the 6th richest country in the world. We can afford it, okay? And we need people to work in this country, so why not? It's a win-win situation. People can come over from Afghanistan who are talented, skilled, able to do things. They might be doctors, they might be architects, they might be farmers. They might actually bloody farm, which apparently is quite difficult. So few people do it, and the people who do often kill themselves. Shit, that went really dark really fast, didn't it? Anyway, yes, the point is that we should be letting as many people in as we can get into the country, as far as I'm concerned. Right, so that's that. That's all the shitty newspapers for tomorrow. I'm very sorry that I live in a country where the newspapers are so shit. Boris has no power over the American presidency, says Duke Vengeance. Yes, because the special relationship is a load of bullshit. Graham has mentioned Graham mentioned that the French evacuated their people in May? That's from Andreas. No, I haven't mentioned that, Andreas, but yes, very good fucking point. Can't see the headlines, says Lee. Yeah, sorry, mate, I forgot to transfer it to the... I had it on one screen, I didn't have it on the other screen. You hated Trump, now look what you got. Yes, I still hate Trump. The guy's killed... The guy killed 400,000 Americans. And, I used to watch Baywatch, and now and again you got to watch an American drown, which was fun. But really, 400,000 of them? That's going a bit far. That's going a bit too far, even for me. 400,000 Americans killed under Trump's watch because he didn't take the COVID pandemic, seriously. They took it seriously in New Zealand. That's why 26 people have died. Just 26, not 400,000. Well, in America, it's now over, 600,000? Can't put the genie back in the bottle. Right, Glasgow. Hey, late to stream, chatting on Discord. Okay, Glasgow Kiss. We will head over to Discord. I'll only be there for a moment because I've got to get to bed. I've got to go to bed. John Barleycorn says, what I don't get is Trump is responsible for brokering this deal to withdraw. Why is Biden owning it? In his shoes, I'd have looked for a way out of the deal. And if there isn't one, blame Trump. Biden has come across in this debacle exceptionally badly. It's his what was it? It was put by the Have I Got News for You the Best. He said his unique selling point was that he wasn't the other guy. You know, his campaign slogan is I'm not that other guy. And in many ways, Biden is nowhere near as bad as Trump. But I mean, it is a savage reminder that America basically plays the tune and we all dance to it. And we have millions of people in this country who cannot for the life fathom out why we have no allies, why America's sacked us off, and why 21 of the 29 other NATO states don't have time for us. The reason for that is because 21 of the 29 other NATO states, other than the UK, are in the EU. The same EU that for 30 years, the print media in the UK has been telling everyone who'll listen that they're a bunch of cunts. What do you expect? We don't have any allies now. And America, if they're not interested in doing something, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Tim says Wagner is a Russian mercenary group whose operations have spanned the globe from frontline fighting in Syria to guarding diamond mines in Central African Republic. Oh, well, I'm talking about the Central African Republic on Thursday in Hughes of the World. It's about the Central African Republic this week, so we will discuss that, I'm sure. Glasgow Kiss is sharing the Discord server chat link there, so I don't have to. Thank you very much, Glasgow, for doing that. Also, Trump put kids in cages. Funny how quickly we forget. He did do that. Yeah. Biden is more old school and is taking responsibility. This issue will not keep him from being re-elected. He might not be a two-term president, but this withdrawal won't be what decides it. Yeah, Jennifer, you're right. And also there is a lot of support for this withdrawal in America. Something like 70% of Americans just go, yeah, well, what are we still doing there? Which Biden? There were two for sure. Just like Fat Bodge and his dirty band of crooks. John says, the point about these visas. What a surprise. Tory ministers have rejected plans for visas to help with shortage of lorry drivers from the EU. How predictable. Yeah. Let them eat cake. Just British cake made with flour from Britain. And milk and sugar. Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you very much for joining me. We'll be heading over to the Discord server now for some Desert Island Discord. And if you've got any questions or comments or anything about today's show, any bits of enlightenment that you would like to fire in my general direction, or just tips, just say, Graham, you do this and it's really fucking annoying. Can you stop doing it, please? Get over to the Discord server, all right? And we'll have a chat about it, all right? Okay, right. So thank you very much to Super Chats. Thank you very much to all of my patrons. Thank you to you for watching. Thank you for watching. Thank you to my YouTube members and everyone who supported this channel over the last, bloody hell, 9 months? Christ, we've been going for a lot. No, 10 months. Oh my God. We've been going since the beginning of November. Shit. So thank you very much for people who have stayed the course. And it's going to get very exciting very, very soon. Because as my little Ginger Island ident did say before I made it disappear, 19 days and until me and Marcus from All Shorts will be heading over to Ginger Island. We'll be doing live shows all day, every day. It's going to be fun. All right, just like Obama, Biden will be a nasty piece of work, but will be hailed as a progressive hero. Maybe, I don't know. Jim Bob says, Savara kid, and gives us a thumbs up, the live long and prosper, and also Black Power. I like it. Unbelievable, says Duke Vengeance. I don't know if that's about me. Okay, thank you very much for watching. I'll be back tomorrow at 10 o'clock for another round of Hughes at 10. Not Hughes on. Hughes at 10 o'clock tomorrow night. I'll see you there. Until then, thanks for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.